Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to today's session. So today we are going to discuss a very important notification that has been released by the Reserve Bank of India, and that is quite in news. So the Reserve Bank of India has revised the provisioning norms for the urban cooperative banks. So first of all, urban cooperative banks have been quite in news recently due to the revising of the norms that has happened regarding the urban cooperative banks due to the categorization that has happened in the urban cooperative banks. So here we have to understand that what is this provisioning norms, and the provisioning norms has happened for the standard assets. So what are these standard assets? What is the classification of asset that is done by the banks? So all of this we are going to discuss in today's session, and let me tell you that direct question can come from this notification, as well as it is very important for you to understand and remember the asset classification that we are going to discuss in today's session. So before starting with this, do subscribe to the YouTube channel and join our Telegram channel for the PDF of this session. So you will be getting the PDF of this session in the Telegram channel. So now starting with the notification that has been released by the Reserve Bank of India is regarding the provisioning for the standard assets by the primary urban cooperative banks. These norms have been revised. So the provisioning norms have been revised under the 4-tiered regulatory framework. So first of all, what has happened? So in December 2022, there was the notification that was released by the Reserve Bank of India regarding the categorization of the urban cooperative banks. So before December 2022, the urban cooperative banks were divided into the two categories, the tier 1 and the tier 2. But after the December 2022, so the notification was released that the urban cooperative banks will be divided into 4 categories, 4 tiers. So the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4. So before December 2022, there were only 2 categories or 2 tiers for the urban cooperative banks, but after the December 2022, the categorization happened in 4 tiers. So it is the 4-tiered regulatory framework for the urban cooperative banks that came. Okay, so here you can see in December last year, that is December 2022, the RBI had categorized the urban cooperative banks into 4 tiers, tier 1, 2, 3 and 4 for the regulatory purposes, because the tier 3 and tier 4, we can say the above tiers, they have the huge deposit size. They are the big urban cooperative banks. So as per the increase in deposit size, the regulatory norms and the guidance should also be increased as per the deposit size. Like for the big urban cooperative banks, there should be more regulatory supervision and there should be more regulatory guidance that should be provided to the upper tiers. Okay, so as per the deposit size, the urban cooperative banks were divided into the 4 categories, so that it is easier for the regulator, for the RBI to regulate the bigger urban cooperative banks patiently. So prior to that, such urban cooperative banks were only categorized into tier 1 and tier 2, that is only in 2 categories. But since December 2022, they have been categorized into the 4 categories, 4 tiers. The Reserve Bank has now, so what the Reserve Bank of India has done in April 2023, so the Reserve Bank of India has released this notification that talks about harmonizing the provisioning norms for the standard assets that is applicable to all the categories of urban cooperative banks. So now the categories, the urban cooperative banks are in the 4 categories. So how the provisioning norms should work for these categories, for this the notification has been released. Okay, this we will understand in the coming slides in the greater depth, so that you have the clarity about the provisioning norms, what are the standard assets and how the harmonizing is being done by the RBI. So starting with the asset classification, first of all, you all must know that what is the asset of a bank. Okay, tell me, what is the asset of the bank? It is the loans that is being provided by the bank, because on the loans the banks are earning the interest. So these are the asset of the bank. Now the assets of the banks are divided into the 4 categories that you can see here. First is the standard assets. So let's say the bank has given a loan for 10 years, and for the 7 years, for the 7 continuous years, the borrower is paying the EMI on time. That is, EMI is principal, a very small part of principal we can say, or a part of principal plus the interest is being paid by the borrower on time for 7 years. So this is categorized as the standard asset because the borrower is very good. There is no problem with this asset. There is no problem that is coming in this asset, and the bank think that in the future also there will be no problem that will come in this asset, because for the 7 years the borrower is doing very well and the borrower has a good rating also. So this is the standard asset. As well as whenever the bank is giving the loan, that loan is considered as the standard asset because the bank has done all the verification and everything. So the banks think that we are providing the standard asset, that it should not have any problem in the future. So those are the standard assets that is considered that does not disclose any problem, that do not have any problem, or they do not disclose any problem. There is only a basic minimum risk that is involved, okay, normal risk that is involved, okay. So that is the basic. All the loans must, they have a normal risk, okay. Like the government, if the bank is giving the loan to the government, there is some basic, very minimum normal risk that is attached. If the loan is being given to the agriculture, for the agricultural purposes, there must be a little higher normal risk. If the loan is being given for the real estate, there is even higher normal risk that is attached. But they are the normal risk, they are the basic minimum risk that is attached with the loan, okay. So standard assets does not disclose any problem and which does not carry more than normal risk. So they have the basic minimum normal risk only, and they do not have any risk higher than the normal risk. Now standard assets. Before going to standard asset, you understand that there is NPA, non-performing asset problem. So now you have to give the EMI on, that is principal plus interest. A part of the principal plus interest you have to give on 12th April. So the borrower had to give the EMI on 12th April, but it has been 13th April and the bank has not got the EMI for that month. So that is, now the standard asset is converted into the special mention account. So the standard asset now has started showing some problem, and there is the special mention account. So the standard asset has been converted into the special mention account up to 30 days. If the EMI from the date mentioned, if the EMI is not coming from the date mentioned that the EMI should have come on this date, if it is not coming up to the 30 days, up to the coming 30 days, it is under the special mention account 0. But now more than 30 days up to 60 days. Now, if the EMI is not coming for more than 30 days and up to 60 days, it is considered as special mention account 1. If the EMI is not coming for more than 60 days and up to 90 days, it is considered as special mention account 2. That it is converting, the standard asset is converting into a NPA, non-performing asset. And now if the EMI, if any payment is not coming till the 90 days, after the 90 days, the standard asset will convert into the non-performing asset. So now EMI is not coming, any payment is not coming, the asset has converted into the non-performing asset. So after the days, if the EMI is not coming, if the payment is not coming, it becomes non-performing asset. Now when it converts into the non-performing asset, these are the, first it is the substandard asset. So when it converts into the non-performing asset till 12 months, okay, after converting into the non-performing asset till 12 months, it will be considered as substandard asset, okay. So the NPA would be classified, an asset would be classified as substandard if it remained NPA for a period less than or equal to 12 months. So you have to understand that as soon as a asset is converting into a NPA, if it remains NPA for 12 months, okay, less than or equal to 12 months, it will be considered as substandard asset. So from the, it has remained NPA for more than 12 months, then it will come under the doubtful asset. So I hope you have understood the categorization. Standard assets are the assets that do not disclose any problem, that are considered good assets, we can say. Now standard assets, from there, if the EMI is not coming for at a set time period, at a set date, then after that they will convert into the special mention account 0, special mention account 1, special mention account 2 as per the period, okay. Up to 30 days, then 30 days, more than 30 days, up to 60 days, more than 60 days, up to 90 days. After the 90 days, as soon as the 91st day is there, it will be considered as the non-performing asset. We have lost, like, this asset is a problematic asset now. As soon as the NPA is created, as soon as the asset is classified as NPA, it will become the substandard asset, up like NPA for a period less than or equal to 12 months. So as soon as the NPA is created, it will come under the substandard asset, and the NPA asset will remain under the substandard asset for 12 months. More than 12 months, that is as soon as 12 months plus 1 day is happening, it will go into the doubtful asset category, okay. Now what are the loss assets? after the doubtful asset, it will convert into loss asset. It is not so. Okay, why? Because loss assets can be directly identified, has been identified. The loss has been identified by the bank or internal or external auditors, or by the corporation department, or by the Reserve Bank of India's inspection. So loss asset can be a asset that is in the substandard asset, that is in the SMA account or something. So those kind of assets, now the RBI is seeing that, okay, the borrower has run away with the money. So the RBI can do the inspection and can justify that, okay, it is the substandard asset, but we have no hope of this loan getting back to the bank, and that's why this is a loss asset. So after the doubtful asset will convert into the loss asset, that there is no hope of this loan coming back, or directly from any of the accounts from the SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, or from the substandard asset, the asset can be converted into the loss asset if from the inspection the bank or the RBI have to come to know that we have no hope of getting this loan back because the person has ran away to some other country in the 30 days, in the 60 days or 90 days, in that time period. Okay, so here considered uncollectible. So loss asset is any asset that is considered as uncollectible, we can say. Okay, so I hope you have understood that for the standard asset, then it is converted into the SMA 0, 1, 2, then to the substandard asset. After it has become NPA, it will come under the substandard asset, then it will be doubtful asset. But for the loss asset, it is as per the inspection also that it is considered a loss asset. Okay, so now coming back, I hope you have understood about the assets. In December 1 last year, we have understood that the four categorization, the UCBs have been categorized into the four categories, and we have already discussed about these four categories again and again. The tier 1 are the all unit UCBs that have only one place that they have been set up. They are the unit UCBs that have only one branch, we can say, or one setup. Salary earners UCB, irrespective of deposit size, and all the other UCBs having deposits up to 100 crore will come under the tier 1. Tier 2 is deposit size is more than 100 crore and up to 1000 crore. UCBs with deposits more than 1000 crore and up to 10,000 crore. Tier 4 UCBs have deposits more than 10,000 crores. So you can understand that as you go from tier 2, tier 3, from tier 3 to tier 4, the deposit size is increasing. That is, it is a bigger UCB. Okay. So this is the categorization that has been done. So before, there was the categorization that has been done of the UCBs as tier 1 and tier 2 only, and that's how the provisioning was decided, that the standard asset is the asset that do not disclose any problem, that do not, we think that this asset will not have any problem, and that's why very less amount is kept with the bank. Okay, if the loan for the normal risk, for considering the normal risk of the loan, very less capital money is being kept with the bank. So what I'm trying to say is that for the standard asset also, the banks have to keep some percentage with themselves as the safety net, because with the standard asset also there is some normal risk, there is some basic minimum risk that is attached, and to cater to this normal risk, there is some provisioning, there is some measure that is kept, there is some safety net that is kept with the bank, and that is what we call provisioning. That is what we call provisioning. Okay, so the rate of provisioning is very less for the standard assets because they are considered that they will not have any problem. Okay, so here before there were only two tiers, and that's why for the direct advances, loans to the agriculture and SME sectors, the tier 1 and the tier 2 had to keep 0.25% of the loan. For the commercial, for the direct advances or the advances to the commercial real estate, they have to keep 1% of the provisioning, of the 1% of this standard asset. That is what we call provisioning. So 1%, let's say the loan has been given to the commercial real estate, the loan is of 1000. Okay, so the provisioning will be of 10 rupees. The provisioning is 1%, that is the rate of provisioning will be 10 rupees. Okay, for the commercial real estate residential housing sector, the provisioning was 0.75%. For tier 1 and tier 2, all other loans and advances not included above, they had to keep, the tier 1 had to keep the provisioning of 0.25%, and the tier 2 had to keep the provisioning of 0.40%. percentage. Now what has happened? This is the prior, when there were only two categories of UCBs, but now there are four categories of UCBs. As you all know that after December 2022, there are the four categories of UCBs. So now the tier 3 and tier 4, how much of the provisioning they have to maintain for the standard assets in different categories. So for this, the standard asset provisioning norms have been revised. They are applicable to all the tiers, tier 1, 2, 3 and 4 of the UCBs under the revised framework, and this is as per this. Okay, so the direct advances to agriculture and SME sectors, for the standard assets, the provisioning will be 0.25% for all the tiers. For the commercial real estate sector, the provisioning for all the tiers will be 1%. For the commercial real estate residential housing sector, the provisioning will be 0.75% for the standard asset. That is for these standard assets. All other loans and advances not included above, the provisioning for all the tiers will be 0.40%. That is, now these tier 1 UCBs will also have to keep 0.40% of the provisioning. So here you can read that for direct advances to agriculture and SME sectors which are standard. Okay, so these advances, these assets which are standard assets, for this the provisioning will be uniform. Provisioning will be 0.25% of the funded outstanding on a portfolio basis. These are the standard assets. For advances to commercial real estate sector which are standard assets, the provisioning will be 1%. For advances to commercial real estate residential housing sector, the standard, which is the standard asset, the provisioning for all the tiers will be 0.75%. For all the other advances, the banks shall maintain a uniform general standard asset provision of a minimum 0.40% of the funded outstanding. So I hope you have understood this very clearly. Now the tier 1 UCBs also have to maintain 0.40% of the provisioning. How the tier 1 UCBs will be able to keep this much provisioning? This much provisioning means that before, out of the 1 lakh, they were keeping with themselves 25,000 or 2,500. Now they have to keep 4,000, okay, out of the 1 lakh. So this is like they have to keep more capital with themselves. They have to keep more money with themselves. So the RBI has said that, okay, we are providing you a glide path. We are not saying that today only, from now onwards you have to keep 0.40% as the provisioning for the all other loans and advances not included above that are under the standard asset. So the erstwhile tier 1 UCBs, the current tier 1 UCBs which are currently maintaining the standard asset provision of 0.25% on all other loans and advances not included above, are permitted to achieve the provisioning requirement of 0.40% on such advances in a phased manner by March 31, 2025. Remember the date. By this date, they have to come to 0.40% of the provisioning of the standard asset of this category, that is all other loans and advances. The provision on all such standard loans and advances that are outstanding as on March 31, 2023 shall be increased to 0.30%. That is the provisioning that is of 0.25% till March 31, 2023. By March 31, 2024, the provision has to be increased to 0.30%. By September 30, 2024, the provision has to be increased to 0.35%. By March 31, 2025, the provision should at last reach to 0.40%. I hope you have understood all of this very clearly, that how the provisioning norms have been harmonized. For all the tiers in all the UCBs, there is the set percentage. There is only 1% that has to be followed. So all the tiers, the percentage has been harmonized as per the category. Okay. So the Reserve Bank has harmonized the provisioning norms for the standard asset that is applicable to all categories of UCBs. So all the tiers of UCBs, tier 1, 2, 3, 4, they have to maintain 0.25% for the agriculture and SME standard asset, 0.1% for the commercial real estate holding, 0.75% of the standard asset. They have to maintain this much of the provision, 0.75% of the standard asset. This is the provision that all the tiers have to maintain for the commercial real estate residential housing sector, as well as 0.40% has to be maintained for all other loans and advances, 0.40% of the standard asset This is the provision that has to be maintained by all the tiers. So this is what we call harmonizing of the provisioning that has been done for all the tiers. All the tiers have to maintain same percentage, okay, for different categories. So this is the first question. I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. It has a high probability of coming. We are again and again talking about the 4-tiered regulatory framework of the UCBs. Next question is this. Again, I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. And now there is a big announcement that we have brought for you, the comprehensive guide for RBI, NABARD and SEBI. So through a single guidebook, you can get all your common queries answered. If you want to know about the examination, that what is the pattern of the exam, what are the previous year cutoff for the exam, what is the syllabus for the exam, what is the eligibility criteria for the exam, all these common queries can be answered through a single guidebook. You do not have to visit different links, you do not have to visit different websites. Even if you want to know about the preparation, what should be the strategy for the preparation, what should be the sources for the preparation, all these common queries can be answered through this single guidebook. Okay. As well as if you want to know about the organization also, you can get all your common queries answered here. There are definitive answers that are provided in this guidebook, and this is absolutely free of cost for you all. You can easily download this guidebook. The link is provided in the description box below. So thank you very much everyone, and I hope you have liked this session. So if you have any query, you can mail us here or you can contact us through this. And if you have any query, you can comment down below and I will surely reply to it. Thank you very much. Do like this session and share and subscribe. Okay, thank you.